I turned 34 last Saturday. Not exactly a milestone birthday, but my wife, Julie, told me she was planning something special. She had been oddly enthusiastic about it all week, constantly on her phone, smiling to herself, being secretive. I assumed she was planning a surprise party, maybe something nice after all the tension we've been going through lately. Things between us have been strained, not in a screaming match way, but with that quiet, suffocating tension that sometimes feels worse. We'd been married for 6 years. I was a scholarship kid working 3 jobs to afford ramen in college. She was a business major from a wealthy family. Classic story, right? Her family never approved of me. Her father, Bronson, yes, like an 80s movie villain, constantly made comment about my humble beginnings. Her mother would condescendingly ask about my little job, even after I was promoted to team lead. Julie was always comparing our life to her cousin Nova's, who married a hedge fund manager and lived in a mansion. She spent more time with her family, coming home late from work events, smelling like expensive cologne. She got texts that made her smile in ways she hadn't smiled at me in months. I had my suspicions, but I kept thinking if I just worked harder, things would improve. Then came my birthday. I had to work because, adult life. But when I got home, our apartment was empty. Julie texted, telling me to meet her at her parents' house for my surprise. It was odd because that house was the last place I'd want to celebrate anything. Still, I thought maybe she was trying to smooth things over between us. I arrived at the suburban McMansion, and Julie met me at the door with a strange smile that didn't reach her eyes. Inside, the living room was full of people, her parents, her sister Annabelle, a few cousins, and some family friends. They were all holding champagne glasses, and the room went silent when I walked in. Julie said, "Todd, we have something special for your birthday." Her father actually snickered. For a brief second, I thought they got me a car or something stupid. Then Julie pulled out a manila envelope. For a split second, I thought it was plane tickets. But then she said, "Surprise, I'm leaving you for someone who isn't a disappointment." Silence, except for her father, who burst into laughter. I stood there, frozen. Her dad added, "We never thought she'd actually marry someone so beneath her." Thank God she finally came to her senses. Julie shoved the envelope into my hands. Divorce papers already filled out, just waiting for my signature. Her mother popped a champagne bottle, and they all started pouring glasses, celebrating my humiliation. I don't know what they expected. Maybe for me to cry, to beg, to make a scene. But something inside me just hardened. I looked at their smug faces, at the woman I thought I'd grow old with, and I felt nothing, like I was watching it happen to someone else. I asked Julie for a pen. Her smile faltered. Her father handed me his fancy Mont Blanc. I walked to their pristine white marble countertop, spread the papers out, and signed every single line without a word. The only sound in the room was my pen scratching against the paper and someone awkwardly clearing their throat. When I finished, I looked Julie dead in the eyes and said, "Thanks for the birthday gift. Best one I've ever received." Then I walked out. No door slam, no cursing, just left. Their stunned silence, their confusion at my lack of reaction, almost worth the entire humiliation. I drove with no destination in mind and ended up at a crappy dive bar, ordered whiskey, then another, watched as Julie's text started flooding in. "Why didn't you say anything? Are you seriously not going to fight for us? You're just proving my point by running away." 3 drinks in, something shifted. The numbness wore off. In its place, a cold, calculating rage took over. Not the reckless kind. The kind that makes you want to burn someone's world down methodically. See, what Julie and her family didn't know was how much dirt I had. 6 years of marriage to someone from a family that treated household staff like furniture? You hear things. You see things. And they had no idea what was coming. After months of upheaval, my life is finally stabilizing in a way I never expected. The business I started, customizing vintage furniture, has gained traction. What started as a small project to keep me occupied has now turned into something viable. I've already sold a few pieces, and I have commissions lined up for the next couple of months. It's fulfilling in a way my previous life never was. Physically, I've never been in better shape. What started as stress-fueled workouts turned into a lifestyle change. I've gained muscle, feel stronger, and actually enjoy the gym. It's funny. Julie used to roll her eyes whenever I talked about getting in shape, yet here I am, probably in the best condition of my life. The confidence boost doesn't hurt either. Socially, I've rebuilt connections that I didn't even realize had eroded. Old friends, new acquaintances. People who genuinely value me for who I am, not just as an accessory to Julie's social aspirations. Game nights with Mike and the crew have become a staple, and I've even started dating again. Nothing serious yet, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the possibilities instead of feeling trapped in expectations I never agreed to. Julie, on the other hand, has not been faring as well. Word got out about her affair. Small circles talk, and when your family prides itself on reputation, news like that spreads fast. Her father's LinkedIn posts have been suspiciously silent lately, and from what I've heard, Ronan is no longer in the picture. Whether he dumped her or she realized he wasn't worth it, I don't know. I don't care. She reached out a few times, trying different tactics. Apology, nostalgia, even anger when I didn't respond. The last message I got from her was a simple, "I miss you. Can we talk?" I left it on read. My only regret in all of this? That I didn't leave sooner. That I spent years trying to prove my worth to people who never valued me. But that's in the past. The future is mine to shape, and for the first time in a long time, I'm looking forward to it. To anyone who's been in a situation like mine, I say this. The high road and scorched earth aren't the only options. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well. I always enjoyed doing things that Julie thought were tacky, but last week, I made my first sale on Etsy. After expenses, the profit was around $27, but it felt amazing. Here's where things get interesting. Julie's family, who are in high-end real estate development, have hit some rough patches. They lost their main investor for a big commercial project right after I had lunch with an old college roommate who, plot twist, now works for that investor's company. Did I mention anything about Julie's family during lunch? No. Did I accept his LinkedIn request afterward? Absolutely. Julie's sister, Annabelle, reached out to me last week. She was always the decent one in the family. She told me Julie has been a wreck since Ronan dumped her after her dad tried to get him a better position at their company. Turns out, Ronan was only interested in Julie for her family connections. Shocked Pikachu face. Julie's Instagram, once filled with daily posts about her #BlessLife, has gone silent. Meanwhile, I've been posting about hiking trips, furniture projects, and nights out with friends. Nothing flashy, just living a normal, happy life. Her best friend accidentally liked one of my photos at 2 a.m. and quickly unliked it. So I know they're watching. Last night, on what would have been our anniversary, I was sitting on my balcony scrolling through Twitter, feeling okay, when Julie texted me. "I know you probably hate me, but I can't stop thinking about where we would be if I hadn't ruined everything. I miss your terrible jokes and the way you always made coffee for both of us, even when we were fighting. The apartment feels so empty now. Ronan was a mistake. My family was wrong. I was wrong. Please, can we just talk? I'm not above begging at this point." I stared at that text for an hour, typed and deleted 15 responses, and finally went to bed without replying. 3 months ago, I would have done anything for a text like that. Now, I'm not sure what I want. The anger is still there, but it's less consuming. This morning, I woke up to 5 more messages from her, each more desperate than the last. The final one said, "I'm parked outside your building. Please come down." I looked out the window, and there she was, sitting in her white Audi, staring up at my building. I closed the blinds and made coffee. Part of me wants to hear what she has to say. Another part thinks opening that door would undo all the progress I've made. And a small, petty part wants her to feel what I felt that day at her parents' house. Life is weird. 3 months ago, I thought my world was ending. Now, I'm starting to think whatever comes next might be better than what I had before. Final update asterisk. I never expected to write a third update, but life keeps throwing curveballs. For those just tuning in, check my post history for the full backstory. Basically, my ex-wife Julie ambushed me with divorce papers at my birthday party in front of her family, who popped champagne to celebrate getting rid of me. Classy. It's been 6 months since that birthday surprise. A lot has changed. I moved into a small 3-bedroom house with a yard where I can finally get a dog. The divorce was finalized 2 months ago with little drama. Julie's family lawyer folded once my lawyer showed proof of her affair. My furniture side hustle is doing okay. Not quitting my day job okay, but enough to fund my coffee addiction and streaming services. I've got regular customers who specifically request my style. It's still weird to think people like the stuff Julie used to call tacky garage sale rejects. Last Thursday night, I was binging a new Netflix series when my Ring doorbell went off at 11:30 p.m. I checked it, thinking it was a drunk neighbor, but it was Julie's car parked across the street. She sat there for over an hour. Around 1 a.m., my phone blew up with text, "Todd, please, I know you're home. I just need 5 minutes. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Please answer. I've made a horrible mistake. The kicker, I've been sleeping in my car for 2 days. I have nowhere else to go." I went outside. She looked rough. Makeup smeared, hair unwashed, wearing the same clothes from her last Instagram post 3 days ago. She smelled like stale fast food and desperation. She'd lost a lot of weight and looked gaunt. She started rambling, half crying, half talking. Turns out, Ronan wasn't just sleeping with her. He was funneling information about her family's business to competitors. When her dad found out, he fired Ronan, who dumped Julie and disappeared with confidential info. Julie had been covering for Ronan at work, changing reports to make his numbers look better because she was in love. When everything came to light, her dad cut her off completely. No job, no allowance, no paid apartment. She'd been couch surfing until her last roommate kicked her out for not paying rent. I invited her inside because it was cold, not because I wanted her back. She cried about how nice my place looked. It's just normal furniture and plants I've kept alive. We sat at my kitchen table, and I made coffee while she spilled the whole story. Her parents had pressured her into the divorce, convinced she could trade up while taking half my assets. They'd planned a birthday ambush to humiliate me so I'd sign quickly. She realized within weeks she'd made a terrible mistake, but her pride kept her from admitting it. She actually said, "I thought you'd fight for me." I laughed at the absurdity. She expected me to beg her to reconsider after she publicly humiliated me. I asked what she wanted now. She wanted to try again, saying she'd learned her lesson and grown as a person in 6 months. She had nowhere to go, no money, no job prospects. Her expensive degree was useless without her dad's connections. She thought maybe she could move in with me while we figured things out. I thanked her for the divorce, for showing me who she and her family really were, and for forcing me to rebuild my life on my own terms. The past 6 months had been hard but liberating. For the first time since college, I was making choices based on what I wanted, not what would please her or impress her family. I let her crash on my couch for one night, but told her she needed to figure out her next steps in the morning. Steps that didn't involve me. The look of shock on her face was almost comical. Julie had never been told no in her life. The next morning, her dad called. His business was barely hanging on, and he asked if I would consider meeting with him to discuss potential opportunities. I almost choked on my coffee. The same man who laughed at me for being beneath his daughter was now begging for my help. I told him I wasn't interested, but knew someone who might be able to help. Mia, the woman I've been seeing for the past month. She's brilliant at helping struggling businesses rebuild their reputation. There was a long silence on the phone before he asked for her contact info. Julie left an hour later with a backpack of essentials and Ubered to her sister Annabelle's place. As she was leaving, she asked if I would ever forgive her. I told her I already had, not for her sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had furniture to refinish and a dog to adopt. Speaking of which, meet Max, the 3-legged rescue pit bull I adopted last weekend. He drools on my couch and steals my socks, but he's the best decision I've made in years. So, that's the end of the Julie saga. 6 months from champagne toast celebrating my devastation to her sleeping in her car outside my house. Life comes at you fast. I don't know what happens next for her, but I'm looking forward to all the things I never got to do when I was trying to fit into her world. For those who followed this crazy story, thanks for the support and advice. It helped more than you know. Anyone else come out the other side of a nightmare and realize it was the best thing that ever happened to you?